So pay attention to cognitive load. So this is going to go to the very start of some sort of agile change effort where people might come in and say, well, if you want to be agile, if you want to get improvements, you need to do all these sorts of things. You need to put in a lot of ceremonies, maybe start doing stand-ups or retrospectives, every week, every day. You may need to put up sort of pretty complicated Kanban systems that track all sorts of different work, pretty complex workflows. You may also have to change how you're doing work, maybe using user stories and introducing those to teams who haven't used them before. To support all of these different activities, even more stuff might be introduced, like say user story maps. And if you want to do some work, you need to break it down, and to do that, we're going to create story maps, or maybe look at sort of business model canvases. None of these things are bad, but to start a change and doing that by introducing all these different activities has a really big cost on people's cognitive load. And unfortunately, it just makes it jump up. And specifically, we're looking at extraneous, spelled that wrong, cognitive load. So this is all the extra sort of additional instructions or tools that we're making people work through before or in part of doing their actual work. So it's not value adding, and it takes away from the cognitive load that we could be spending on actual solving business problems, and that is a germane cognitive load. So what is the effect that this has on people? Well, going from experience, you need to get buy-in on these different activities. And while people may agree in public, you get some dangerous behaviors where behind the scenes, they may privately or, with their friends whisper and complain and disagree with all of the new activities that we're doing. Or sometimes, especially when we're looking at complicated Kanban systems or user stories, they may do just as little as possible not to get noticed. So they may fill out a user story template, not really care much about else, as long as they hit, what people define as the proper format. They may go to their Kanban board and put something up, or go to a stand-up and talk about what they've done. Again, just filling the part mechanically, not really paying attention, just so people can't say, oh, this person is not cooperating or resisting. On a bigger perspective, when we look at how this affects an organization's sort of change journey, sometimes we get this hope-despair cycle, where maybe a bunch of promises are made about the benefits we're going to get from all these different activities, and some people may agree and will hype it up. But once we start to see that there's complexity or that the results aren't what we've expected, despair kicks in. And so we have this line here. And what happens is we've basically taken out of our pocket of our clients the currency of trust and patience in order to make this change happen. And when we're not able to show any return, then we're gonna have a much harder time attempting one of these changes again in the future. We'll see maybe clients revert to old practices, what they've done before, getting the same results that they got before. And we're gonna also see it's a lot harder to try to get change to happen once again. So we're gonna be actually introducing resistance to future change effort. It's gonna hit a brick wall. So what can we do to avoid this? And what are some things to think about? So one is to not impose change. Or don't impose change. So these practices over here, these are all things that need to be taken in perspective being appropriate, that need to come from the teams, not be applied to or not be enforced by the coach. We want to be able to look at this change curve and show some value along the way to feel like their trust and their patience is actually paying off. And we're going to avoid dipping down here into this negative area. And then we're also going to think about the cognitive load of the people we're working with. We don't want to overload them and create systems and expect them to do things that are beyond their capacity, or that it's going to take up so much energy that they won't be able to actually work. We want to do things really looking at appropriateness. So it's going to actually support and add to the amount of germane cognitive load they could spend actually working on business domain problems. All right. Thank you very much.